Namaste. Good evening to everybody and welcome to yet another session of RASAGRAAHI, an initiative by Sri Sai Raman Nritya Kendra Tumakuru. SANKATHA, a series with internationally acclaimed male dancers, and this forum has seen 29 episodes successfully with great artists sharing their experiences of their lifetime and messages to everybody through their life and through their work. I welcome today's artist, Sri Anand Satchidanandan, who have joined from Mumbai. We welcome you, sir. And heartiest welcome to all the audience seeking the blessings of the Almighty. We start today's session, a great conversation with a very promising artist, performer, teacher, and a researcher. And I think the last component is something which we are going to explore more today about his research and his keen works on various different interdisciplinary aspects, which is the call for the day today. Even in the national education policy, which has been released by the government, they ask for this. So I think today's session is going to bring us all to a great forum of discussion on how performing arts, especially dance, can take NEP in a very different way altogether. So, without any delay, I would like to introduce. Rather, I think he's a known artist to everybody, but I would like to introduce in a very formal way to you all who is Anand. Anand actually was a blessed artist by Chidambaram Sri Nataraja Rajar and Sarvajanopakari Dr. V.V. Swarna Venkatesha Dikshidhar into performing Bharatanatyam as a child prodigy at the age of 3.5 years. He started Bharatanatyam under Sri Nagarajan Rajarajeshwari Bombay, Srimati Rekha Subbarao Jakarta, Indonesia, and Srimati Usha Srinivasan Chennai since 1999. Anand is under the tutelage of Revered Padma Bhushan Dr. Dhananjayan sir and Srimati Shanta Dhananjayan, known worldwide. A graded artist of Doordarshan Kendra, Anand has given multiple performances in India, Indonesia, USA, UK, France, Singapore, and Malaysia. With the blessings of his gurus, Anand has also given numerous performances in various television channels worldwide and participated in dance dramas and ballets touring Chennai, Jakarta, and the USA. Anand has performed for several esteemed guests such as Chief Ministers Srimati Jayalalithamma, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, President of Indonesia Abdul Rahman Wahid, President Megawati Soekarno Putri, and legendary artists such as Pandit Hariprasad Chaurasia, Dr. Balamurani Krishna, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, Dr. Vempati Chinna Satyam, to name a very few. Anand was selected by the Madras Music Academy to participate in its prestigious Spirit of Youth Dance Festival in Chennai, NCPA Mudra and Umang Festivals, Khajuraho Festival, Raipur Festival of Dance. Anand has been blessed with the titles Nalanda Nritya Nipuna by Nalanda University in 2014, Adyar K. Lakshman Best Male Dancer by Krishna Gana Sabha in Chennai, Natya Purna by his gurus Bharata Kalanjali, Yuvakala Bharati, Bharat Kalachar, and many more awards till date. Anand was featured in Tulsi Badrinath Master of Arts, A Life in Dance, featuring a biography of Sri Guru Dhananjayan sir, along with prominent male Bharatanatyam artists. He also edited publications of his Acharya, Dr. Dhananjayan sir, and co-authored articles for Shruti magazine and Shanmukha too. Anand is currently pursuing his master's in. He's finished his master's in Shastra University under the guidance of Dr. Padma Subramaniam and the ancient Tamil literature Tevaram, Tiruvasagam, and Prabandham from Professor Vaitilingam of the Madras University. He's also very keen on Carnatic music. Anand began his training of Carnatic classical vocal from his grandmother, Srimati Rukmini Venkatachalam. She's a AIR A grade artist and continues with Sri Balasubramaniam and Srimati Jayalakshmi Santanam. Anand has performed at renowned Cleveland Tyagaraja Festival in US in April 2008 and 2009 too. Together with his wife Jayalakshmi, who is a senior student of Srimati Anita Guha, a great artist from Chennai as well. Anand has the privilege to be the directors and chief instructors at the Shanmugananda Natya Vidyalaya of Mumbai. He has performed n number of festivals across the globe, and some of the noteworthy international programs include Mandapa Festival 2006 in Paris, France, Singapore Indian Fine Arts Society Festival in 2003, Nayapi 2001 celebration with President of Indonesia in 2001, Tamil Foundation's 25th anniversary in Florida, the US in 1999. Noteworthy productions of this dance couple include Skanda at Povai Fine Arts in 2019, Nada Nrityolasam collaboration with Nadaswaram Shanmugananda in 2019, NCPA Mudra Dance Lecture Demonstration, Ahalya Sita Draupadi Katha Nrityam at Shanmugananda Sabha in 2017, Sannidhi under choreographer Parvati Datta and group between 2012 to 2017. Nritya Tarangini at Brahmagana Sabha, Tyagaraja Vaibhavam at Mumbai in 2011, Nartaka Nartanam at Krishnagana Sabha, Bharat Kalachar in 2010, Satyam Shivam Sundaram USA Tour in 1999, Ushas Music Academy in 1996. So the list goes never ending, and because he's also a very, very genuine and unique personality, I would call, rather in terms of his other fields of interest, which I would read out now, which you all will be surprised of. Which is, he also holds an undergraduate degree from Oxford's College of Social Studies at Wesleyan University, Connecticut, from the US. He was a Freeman Summer Scholar to study Arthashastra for his thesis in undergrad. He is also a recipient of Kofi Annan Scholarship from Macalester University. He holds a master's in market research from Nielsen Academy North Point, 10 plus years of experience in qualitative and quantitative market research and consumer insights. He has extensively published and presented papers of research of his choice at various forums, including IIM Ahmedabad, Indian Institute of Management. He's been currently working on neuroscience research since past 2 years. Now he's associate director at NEPA India Private Limited for digital consumer research, and the list again goes on. But interestingly, his thesis for his MFA at Master of Fine Arts, Performing Arts at Shastra University was on neuroscience and Natya. So that's a very unique combination of a personality whom we are, interviewing today. So welcome to you, Sri Anandji.
Thank you so much. So many lovely words and a beautiful introduction to me. But given the amazing lineup of artists that Sagar, you as well as Rupishri have been doing on RASAGRAAHI, I'm very, very humbled by the kind of lineage that comes with these past couple months. So very little, a drop in the ocean. But thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Anandji, as usual, we all have a very unique story of how do we get into this, great ocean, Sagaram of Anand, the Sagaram of dance, we can say. It's the Sagaram of Anandam because it's combining both our names, but, it's of a Paramananda, which we generally get through practicing, viewing, and being dancers actually. So but as as a male dancers, we have a pride also, an equal responsibility to carry off on our shoulders, to be called as male dancers, acclaimed, and being invited everywhere for performances. The way the graph has risen now towards an interest towards male dancers has been really rising and positive. So it's been a good journey for all of us, and you being a successful dancer, performer, and at the same time a researcher and a great market researcher and analyst and whatnot. So we would like to hear from you that how did it happen, and that too at 3.5 years. when probably we couldn't even imagine. You were there at Chidambaram at Sabha dancing in front of Lord Sri Nataraja. I think that is a great blessing. But how did you, continue this? Because in the childhood, it will be some kind of a different kind of influence on us. But how
Yeah,
did
yeah.
Lord Nataraja actually bless you to, have this special quality of dancing with you?
So I think all of us, it's a very, very tough question, honestly, to answer because it does not follow any logic that is understood by the human mind. I keep telling everyone that I come across that in order for you to be able to hold even one particular swara, or even for you to be holding an aramandi in class, you don't know how many boons, how many lives you've taken to reach there. I think it's an absolute blessing that goes beyond our current life, that draws us towards this. And that is one major takeaway that I have from the previous sessions that you've also conducted, Sagar, is that there is a very unique Vasana. In fact, one of the Sanskrit scholars I was working with was saying that Kala Vasana is the only Vasana that actually carries forward from one life to the other. Other vasanas don't come with so easily, and that is the reason why we are all really blessed, not just to learn the art, not just to propagate it, perform it. We are just blessed to be also in a culture that promotes it. And I think on promotion, it's linked to me also, because I have honestly been the receiver of so many such blessings from a family that actually believed in my performance, believed in this art and the sanctity of this art even before I was born. My maternal grandfather, Sri Pandey Sundaram from Mumbai, was a very well-established Jyotisha, and he's conducted well over about, the count is somewhere between 500 to 1,000 weddings here. And he had predicted to my mother even before I was born, that there is some kalavasana in the child. That's what I've told. So therefore, when once I was born, around from my first 3 years of my life, I was here in India, particularly in Mumbai and Chennai. And that is when my mother started seeing that I used to start dancing to different rhythms. I was an avid fan, am an avid fan of the Doordarshan late night recordings. I've heard that time and time again by many male artists, and I used to stay up as a child to watch that. And my grandfather at that point in time used to take video cassette recordings and record it and send it to us. We moved to Kuwait when I was about 4, and that's how I used to watch that. I watched very little cartoons. I was very not so interested in games and sports. My brother took the sports genes in the family, but I used to watch this, and that's how I kind of grew up. And so the 3.5 years I had already started. I performed, one of my first performances was actually for Raja Reddy and Radha Reddy when I was about 3. They were visiting Kuwait, and I performed the Alaripu, which I still perform today. And they were absolutely enthralled. And that's the magnanimity of our gurus also, that they don't see just a child flailing its arms and legs. They see something beyond that, and they were the ones who told my parents to kind of enroll me in Bharatanatyam, and that's how the journey started. Then when we came to Chennai, I was learning for some time under. So in Mumbai, I started with Nagarajan sir, who was within the family of the Rajarajeshwari family. So I started in Chembur, and very similar to other stories. The classes were actually intended for my cousin sister. So she used to hate the class, and I used to always creep in, and he used to close the door so that no one else would disturb the class. She used to hate it, and at that point in time, I started dancing behind her, and soon I was more into it than she was. So she stopped. She's now settled in Singapore, so I have some thanks to tell to her as well. But after that, we moved to Indonesia, and I grew up mostly in Indonesia. Indonesia is one of those beautiful countries that still holds Bharatadesham, gives credit to Bharatadesham for where the Ramayana and Mahabharatam happened. It's one of the few countries where you will still find people named Yudhishthira, Bhima, Ahalya. The culture is, phenomenal, and it's like what Dr. Padma Subramaniam also says. The Bharatavarsha doesn't stop, basically with India, right?
India.
And in Indonesia, I was blessed to come across. So we used to every 3 months come back to India, and those 3 months will be full drill session, morning to evening, music, sangeetam, vedam, dance class, mridangam, everything. And I was lucky that while I was studying, I was introduced to Srimati Rekha Subbarao. She's a very well-established Indologist also. That's where I get my research interest actually from. She is from Mysore. She's currently in Bangalore. Her sister and her used to take a lot of classes and continue to, Srimati Nandini Ishwar in Mysore. And through them, in fact, Nandini ma'am was the person who did my Arangetram, because in the last minute, Rekha ma'am could not do my Arangetram. So she did my Arangetram in Chennai. And after that, Rekha ma'am moved. And as a result, I had another break. And I had again the privilege of working and studying with Usha Srinivasan from the Dandayatapani High School in Chennai. And Usha Miss reached the Lord's feet around 1999, and that was when I again got a chance, another divine intervention. So my last name is Satchidanandan. My father was traveling, and his boarding pass got mixed up with Swami Satchidananda from US. And when they called for the boarding pass, both of them showed up. And that's when my father, knowing that he was a big savant at that point in time, I think you've seen him. He looks like Yudhishthira himself, actually. Vishwamitra, Yudhishthira, you can think. And that's when they started talking, and Swamiji actually asked on his own, saying that, do you have a child who is interested in Bharatanatyam? Without any knowledge, without any conversation. And that moved my father so much that while we were in Indonesia, our very first trip was to the US, was to go attend the annual Natya Dhyana Gurukulam, which Dhananjayan sir and Shantaka conduct in Yogaville in Virginia in the US. And that's where I went, and that's where my Gurukul of Awesome actually started with them in 1999. This was a dance camp that they were pioneers of. It ran for 30 plus years, started around the 80s. And they were one of the first people to actually go to the US and conduct these. And that kind of strenuous training I've not even seen in India, frankly. So it's a brilliant, you're just completely soaked in that environment. And that's how, and then since then, I've been blessed to be with Vadyar. I call him Vadyar and Shantaka. And, I'm by their side performing with them. The call came that I had to pursue my studies. So I wanted to know, which path to take. So I said, let me finish my studies, and then after that, take the call professionally. So I continued dancing and continued studying. And I got a scholarship actually to attend Wesleyan University. Wesleyan University, for everybody who doesn't know, in the 1960s, it was the first pit stop for any Carnatic vocalist or Bharatanatyam artist who used to come to the States. Why? Because it was where Balama and Vishwa sir stayed for years teaching. Their houses are still there. Aniruddha Knight, their grandson, still teaches over there. And Douglas Knight, who used to play Mridangam for Balama, is over there. It's right now headed by Professor Hari Krishnan, who is a student of Kittappa Placer. It was also the place where Ramnath Raghavan and MS Subbalakshmi and Palakat Raghu, all of these people came in the 60s and 70s to come and teach Indian classical music to foreigners, to Americans. And they established such a beautiful syllabus there. I mean, you can see they have written with their hands every small gamaka in every small pallavi, anupallavi, so that the foreigners could read it, because they used to do written music now. So they used to sit down and read it. So they will just read it like that only. What is the Sankati? Whatever the Sankati, they read and come. A phenomenal place. And that's where I met Professor Balasubramaniam, who inducted me into the Brindama or the Balama School of Music. And that has totally transformed me. I was always Natyam first, then Sangeetam. And very true, late realization, but it came later that it is always Sangeetam first. That's the spirit of what we dance. I was working in the US for about 6 years, and then I decided I was too far away from the Karma Bhumi here. I decided to quit and came back. I quit overnight. I didn't tell anybody because, most people would say, US, visa, plush life, what are you doing, leaving everything, coming back. But my plan was basically to spend about 4 years, just 3 to 4 years, just completely dancing. And that was another, life-turning event for me. So I spent in Madras, used to have morning to night, just dancing full time, toured, did the performance section and everything. In fact, Bombay was also a little bit of an accident because I came here thinking that I will just do a little short stint in work and then head back to Chennai and continue dancing and working in Chennai. But then after that, I stayed back here and have been really blessed by the Shanmukhananda Nati Vidyalaya recently, and the wonderful camaraderie that's here in the Bombay Bharatanatyam and dance community to continue this service. So in short, that's what it is. I hope I didn't take too much of your time, but we've all been destined. We were destined to dance. We are destined to dance in the future also. But the kind of sacrifices that many dancers do, I mean, there's mental sacrifices, physical sacrifices. Often it's the physical sacrifices and the financial sacrifices that's talked about. But I think, it's the more you give, the more you get. So from that perspective, I think there's a lot left to do. So I'm very humbled by that.
That's a truly great word and very inspiring journey which you shared with us, and a lot of stalwarts whom you have been mentioning from the beginning. Very interesting to know that Nandini ma'am had done your Arangetram. That's a very special one.
Yes.
She's a very adorable and a great guru of
Very proud.
Tanjore Parampara in Mysore city
Absolutely.
in Karnataka. So that's nice to know about you. But how is your first glimpse of your experience of Rajarajeshwari? Because we've been hearing a lot, and it's a great contributor in the cultural scene of Mumbai in terms of Bharatanatyam.
Absolutely.
Nobody can forget what Radhikarajeshwari Nrityalaya had done in Mumbai in earliest period. Now there are many institutes and universities and etc. But initially that was one of the pioneering institutes. So opening up your learning in that kind of an environment. How is it? Can you please share a few experiences about that?
Sure. I was quite young, so honestly, to tell you, I was about 3.5, 4-ish, I guess, when I started with them. So I was pretty young, but I can tell you whatever I remember, which was that they lived and breathed the art, so it was effortless. So the kind of preparation that people like, I mean, that I do for my classes in terms of listing down what was covered, what was not covered, what needs to be covered, XYZ, just comes very, very naturally to turn. The truth is, after coming to Mumbai, that I realized that Mumbai was definitely the first, I would call it the first US of India, because this just about maybe about I'd say maybe 4 generations ago, the best of the best from the hinterland. So when you're talking about Palakkad, Tanjavur, Mysore, Mangalore, and likewise in the north also, all traveled here because of the kind of financial possibilities that were here. So this was the first place, if you think about it, if you where there were expats, NRIs who were actually being taught a very, very classical art form. And Lakshmi Vishwanathan does a very beautiful job of talking about this, where she says that suddenly you have these Nattuvanas who had to teach city girls, and include that some city boys also in the mix. So phenomenal guts, honestly, in terms of their fearlessness to come in, and at that point in time, even shoulder what the best of the South, because there were very strong clashes between South and North and political, doldrums that were going on at that time. But the Rajarajeshwari family has come deeply rooted and shown actually what a commitment to a Bani or a Vadi is.
Yes.
I'm very close. I've been blessed by being very close friends with Sri Harikrishna now. And, I talk to him very regularly about the sacrifice that's involved over there, because we often think that, it's very creative. So let's all sit down and just, compose our own jatis, compose our own music, and just, take it and do it. They have very strict rules in terms of what they can and cannot do. And because they follow that, that's why, their lineage continues.
The lineage is
Nagarajan's, absolutely. Nagarajan sir used to come with a white shirt and white veshti. You could smell the pan in his mouth like maybe about 1 meter before he even arrived anywhere. And used to come inside, sit down. There used to be a hall where he used to take classes. He had no tattakadi. The armchair was a wooden armchair, and that was his tattakadi. And he would hit it with his hand. And old school style, because what would happen is as soon as class started, the door closed, and whatever you got, which was very little praise, more beating only, but that really molded you. After that, no matter what noises used to come out of the living room, then the door would fling open, and the person would transform. And as a child, I never understood that. I still remember that, the doorbell would ring. And even now, if I hear that ring somewhere now, it shocks me a little bit, because I used to be very scared of him. Because you never knew how to judge him, which way he's going to go, you never knew. But in front of my mother and my grandmother and all that stuff, he used to be very, very sweet. He's said he'll call for oil and, make sure that my leg is, if it's cramped up, all that stuff he did. That magical touch, honestly, that's what has honestly kept me going, honestly, to tell you. That was my experience with them. Now, connecting back with them, I realized that so many things I learned the Kamas Swarajati from him when I was so young. And Alaripu, and I had also done one Meera Bachan also. That is what I kind of remember very little. But yeah, phenomenal times.
So from then on, I'll directly go to your experience with Dhananjayans at your first workshop, as you said, the Abhyasashala in the US, when you met them. And how is the relationship, which is be like, you've been their students for a long time. So how did the relationship actually grow from a small short time workshop to a longer time period, and how did the interaction go, and how is the relationship explores? Because in nowadays, I think many of them attend workshops of many teachers, and they get inspired and they forget it there. Only item and music is there with them, and the relationship doesn't really maintain. But we want to
Absolutely.
hear from you as to how this I think it wasn't an accident but a destination that you met them there. But uh, the intention of growing with them is something which is very personal. It's not like that workshop would have been an end to you and that's it, the end of the story, but it
Yeah, yeah,
went on. And what are the reasons which attracted you towards them? That is the main thing which we want to know.
absolutely. So again, I think so one of the other blessings was that, and I think one of the true kind of characteristics of an acharya is that they one is to let the student kind of find their own path. That is one way. The other way is also to kind of allow and identify what a student needs even before the student knows it, right? I think the student need is something that most, as a now very recently, looking at the amount of teaching that I'm doing, I'm starting to realize what a tough job that is to identify what actually a student needs. We take it for granted, and I think that is the reason why before there were teachers and there were performers. Now we've done
Correct.
one beautiful history of everything. Performers don't necessarily know what a student needs. Teachers don't necessarily know what needs to be done, on themselves for a performance, right? So from that perspective, I just want to backtrack a little bit to spend a little bit of time on Shrimati Rekha Subbarao as well, sister of Shrimati Nandini Ishwar also, because her magnanimity also was to identify, at once I finished my Arangate drum, was to say that, it will be good, because I was in my formative years at that point in time, it will be good for me to join a male artist. So it was starting to, it was kind of started a little earlier actually. And at that point in time, I had no idea what I was dancing or what I looked like, or that I wanted to dance like a man or a woman, or none of those questions were, there. I was just dancing. I was just very happy that I was dancing. And as Sagar, as you would agree with most of us, we will stick out like one, tree in the middle of a garden, right? You have all these roses and flowers, and it'll be us. And no matter what, Asura, you, Krishna, you, mountain, you, tree, you, everything will be you only. So that was the picture, but she was the one who identified it. Then as it happened, that my parents met and there was this divine stroke on it. So that's why we didn't even think. In fact, I often go and ask my parents, did you even know these artists? Did you know who they were, what Bani they were from? Did you know any of this? They did not know at all. And they had no idea of it. And that really goes to say that, all of us say it, but parents 100% believe that, we are guided in the right way. Let us join Now you dedicate your entire, life and your learnings to this particular teacher. I think that's where we get that loyalty piece that you were talking about, right? We also have parents now that are saying that for this workshop, dedicate yourself. But after the workshop is done,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
So
that's
I
that's a
even
big
here
difference.
we have reached a very sad state, Anandji, where we also I've overheard it somewhere. Like when I go for exams, like for examiner and shit like that, so I've heard a parent saying that she finished her basics under so and so guru. Her basics is very strong. A parent is talking about a teacher, saying the teacher's basics is very strong, but
That's
further, I
so.
found she won't have further development under that teacher. So she's going for an online class with another teacher. She left this and she's going for an extended learning. And she attends all the workshops and all possible workshops from Chennai under various different teachers whenever it is floated. This is it's a truth which I overheard in an exam center. For basics, they go for one teacher. For items and extra learning, they go and workshops some other teachers. So we've reached such a sad state of
We
the
have.
parents deciding on the quality of a teacher. So
No, that's 100% true. And I think the lockdown situation, the COVID situation has also kind of accelerated that, and how there are necessities behind that. So while within the artistic field, I know that 100% people who have a single profession versus, people like me who've got two professions going on, that, times are very, very hard. And we have to acknowledge that as well. But I think the problem, like what you're saying, is that, it's a difficult question, but who decides what is good art, and what
no,
is
I
what
just asked you
art
because you
should be
just
like.
shared about your humble parents. I think the
Ah,
generation we had that kind of parents itself, because they were into different
absolutely,
fields and they only believed that
absolutely.
it's a good hobby class or some time pass for our kids. They won't get deviated from a normal lifestyle, so that's all
Yeah,
they
yeah.
believed in. And they indulged in us in any kind of art or music. But now it's very calculative. How many years you go, when you finish, how much am I investing, how much am I reaping out of it? Oh God, that
Absolutely.
is different
No,
statistics.
absolutely. And the funny thing is that those conversations have actually come up a lot since we came to Bombay. So my wife and I are discovering that actually over here, which is pretty fun, because in Chennai, obviously, I mean, the conversations are happening, but on top of that, you have all of these pieces. But you bring up a good point, which is that for my parents, all the arts is a divine offering. They literally live by the fact that it's a Shodasopachara that you do throughout your entire life. So from that perspective, joining the Dhananjayans also was a divine providence. Continuing with them was also a divine providence. It was never that I'm here for the camp, I'm done. Because I didn't go for I went for the second year also, I think, but after that I came to Chennai, and then after that I continued with them. And one of the most things that is looked over by most is that when you have someone like Dhananjay sir and Shantaka there, definitely we glorify them because I mean they're legends, beyond any doubt. But we should also be careful not to build, an ivory tower around them. Also, they say that, right? So, in the sense that I found that Shantaka and Vadia for 30 years were conducting this dance camp, completely knowing that there are people from different styles who are actually coming in, and they would never, ever, even once, say that what you're doing is wrong. So they actually accepted that that there are multiple ways and paths, and there are multiple ways of doing a single adavu also. But here is the kind of emphasis and the kind of aesthetics that we know. It's very beautiful. It's very humbling. This is the aesthetic that I know. Satyajatana would say that that is what they lived and breathed in Kalakshetra, and that's what they brought out. But the openness to say that this is how it
To
should be, how
accept.
it should not be, that's brilliant, and that's the reason why I'm always a little, of course, for this side, that side will always be greener, no? So I'm always in awe of students who started with one guru and finished with one guru, because I say, oh my God, you were able to get so much. Of course, because of all the hopping around that we used to do, that was not there. But till now, I mean, the conversations and the kind of connect that I have with them. An unknown thing also is that Shantaka and Vadyar were instrumental in me finding Jayalakshmi and Jayalakshmi finding me. So they were the ones, and Shantaka particularly picked up the phone and told me that I think this girl will be suitable for you. Think about it. And as it happened, because of divine providence, everything matched up. So I owe much more of my life than just Natyam actually that ways to them.
That's a great thing. Nice. So I think it's a very, very, it's a very unique connection, right? A guru doesn't even, stop at, teaching and, sometimes demanding fees and things like that. But there are even gurus who shape your life and give you what you want before even you ask. I think that literal illustration, it's not about only dance or items, what item I teach, which varnam I taught you, how big is that trikala jati, how intricate is the jati. It's not all about that. It's about how do we shape the personality of the student and what does he need, because all of us might not be a great performer. That also you said. It's very nice to catch up with you. Actually, it's very interesting conversation. I'm really loving it. And your language
Thank
flow
you.
is
Thank
also
you, sir.
great, and thank you for that. And because each instance you are giving, it drives us to a different kind of inferences which we can draw. Because as you explained your personal suggestion, what she gave you for your own personal life, it's none of her concern it would have been, isn't it? So it's like, out of sheer concern and love towards you, they have done it. So it's like, that bonding which just grows. And I think that is very important. And for any guru with under any shishya, for any shishya under any guru, I'm sorry, so let me put it that way, I guess. So thank you so much, Anand. It's really exciting to converse with you. And now going back to your the main key aspect of it, because I think we might fall short of time, because this is the main thing which I think all of us were intending to ask you, is about always interlinking something. You whenever we see your undergrad thesis, it is interlinked with two subjects. We and your postgrad, we can see that. And in your dance thesis, it's about interlinking some two different ideas. Though it's
Yeah.
about Arthashastra is related to economy, but still it is a plethora of lot of ideas which is there. And you had taken that. And in MFA, you took up looking at
Yes,
neurosciences
yes.
and dance. So I'll go directly to this last one, because that I think will enrich all the dance crowd who are looking at it. Because how can we, like, as a dancer, because taking up a dance topic is very interesting, and we all know how we should research on, and there's a methodology which has already been set up, and people also will guide us. But when you do is multidisciplinary aspects, like especially like neuroscience, though we know that there is human body is the main thing for both dance and neuroscience, whatever related to biological sciences. But how did this even idea flash? It was like so innovative when I heard about neurosciences and Bharatanatyam.
It's that's a really good question. I even kind of wonder how did it kind of happen. There are actually multiple Bharatanatyam dancers, especially in the US and the UK, who are actually working on this as a topic. Usually, it interests a lot of people who have a background in medical sciences or natural sciences. And the truth is that I have no background in medical sciences or neurosciences. So I'm just telling you that Sagar had mentioned this. He said, "Oh, you're a neuroscientist." I'm not a neuroscientist at all. I've come to learn about it. But see, with even with Arthashastram, with also with my work in consumer neuroscience and in consumer market research, it's about kind of making sense of who we are as human beings. Why do we even gravitate towards something such as art? What's the point of it, right? And I mean, now that I'm talking to you, I realize that there is actually some connection, and forming those connections and showing that connection, to me, that is art. People are going about, so all of us have done, we've done the picture of, we've shown, a potter making a wheel, a farmer going to this, the pujari plucking flowers and doing that. Those are just actions. For them, that is a habit. But what you are able to do as an artist is weave it into a larger story, you know and weave it into why is it that that person is doing that, what is the connection between the farmer and the land, what is the connection between the pujari and his flowers, what is the connection between the music and the dance that's there. I think that's where art lies. And we're lacking in it because people are disconnected. So when people themselves are disconnected, then how can you show that connection? So my quest for interdisciplinary approach has always been kind of how one influences the other, and I've just been thinking about that for a while. Into neuroscience, actually, my pranams actually go to also my acharyas in consumer neuroscience and in consumer market research, which is at Nielsen. And I've been working for the past 10 plus years evaluating digital and TV advertisements. So when people ask me what do I do on the other side, it's taken me a very long time to be very open about what I do on both sides. Uh, because the interlinkness was something that was play for me. I thought everyone knew it. I didn't know that people didn't. But it was Nielsen that actually pointed out, that said that why don't we kind of evaluate these TV ads? So in short, for everybody, the TV ads and the digital ads that you see, there is a brain, there is a team that works behind it to make those advertisements and products interesting to you. And the brain can be used in very interesting ways to make something very appealing. This is the reason why when you look at somebody first time, you think they're amazing, wow, what charisma. Then a little later, you realize that charisma is a little less. They don't stand for the same things again. It's the same thing, there are multiple basically brain principles that are involved in that. And all of that is used in media currently. So for example, a very small thing, everyone has this 5-second thing, no, on YouTube, that the first 5 seconds is what you watch. And if you're not interested, you skip it, right? That has its formations actually in the brain. The brain actually takes micro milliseconds to take a decision on whether it does not like something. So your brain does not like something first, and then it figures out whether it actually, likes something. And that's also the reason why very often, if you see, we are able to make one very long list of things we don't like. But if you ask this, you sit someone down, you say, what do you like? What do you want to do? Very, very tough question to ask. So those principles actually, very interestingly enough, were discovered not just by, like, science has helped us measure it now, that we are putting an EEG on the person's brain, and then after we're able to understand that. But the beauty about the MFA piece that I am working on continuously is that it's also already in the Nati Shastra. So a very simple one I'll tell you is the very simple slokam that we say of Yato Hasas Tato Drishti, right, has its foundation in the way that the brain behaves. And that has its foundation in terms of our evolution. So a very simple thing I'll ask you, Sagar, that you're also there, basically. If you find a group of monkeys that are in a tree, right, and one of the monkeys spots something kind of moving, either on the ground or the tree, what does it do? It will first immediately look in that direction. And believe it or not, everyone will look in that particular direction. Now, the monkey possibly is not pointing, but that movement itself catches the peripheral vision of somebody, and immediately all the monkeys will look. Those monkeys and us are not different at all. So if I want you to look at one particular hastam, keeping the hastam here, and if I keep talking to you, you'll keep engaging with my face, but never the hastam. And that's the reason why I have to look at it, and immediately you will look at the hastam. So that Yato Hastas Tato Drishti has a very simple brain principle. And that is the same principle that our sages, who I honestly believe were the scientists back then, right? They were the ones who were actually able to pick up on that and were able to document it for us. The sad part is we are always asking for measurements that we understand. That's the sad part. So if we understand right now number of viewers. So we say that for this YouTube video that we're putting out there, I am very famous, you are not very famous. Why? Because there are these many viewers that are there. That's a measurement that we understand. What we don't understand is, what are they actually doing when they're watching that? Are they even thinking about me? Are they cutting vegetables for dinner? Right? To what extent are they even bothered about this as a topic, right? So then those measurements are what is actually gone missing. And so that's why I think that the dance fraternity, or the Natyam fraternity particularly, my Vadyar always says this: we don't dance, we do Natyam. And the reason why he used to say that, a lot of people say that, oh, why are you coining it? It is English only, we are dancing only and all that. He used to say very nicely, the purpose of dance is not to elevate. The purpose of dance is for you to enjoy. I'm moving, someone's moving, somebody is moving, something is happening, some correlation to music. Maybe that's also not there. But the purpose of Natyam is to elevate you and to elevate everyone else. We have a moral responsibility to elevate our audiences. And if we are not doing that, then who's going to?
Wonderful. It's a
Sorry,
great thing.
I went all over the place, but that's so these principles also. So even in terms of hand movements, facial movements, um, the other very interesting thing, I'll tell you one more thing, is that the Natya Shastram and even I mean Sangeetam per se talks about rhythm coming first, right? So we say in Tadava there is, Tandavam came first and Lasyam came second. So neuroscience has actually proven that babies, month-old babies, actually respond to rhythm first before they respond to music. The first music that they hear is the tonalities of their mother. So, our brain is a fantastic thing. It's been processing rhythm for so long. So, how would it not enjoy something in Sarvalagu, something in Usi? How would it not enjoy a Trikalajati? The kind of climax, right, that a Trikalajati can create for you, it's the same kind of climax that you will see in a movie or you will see in a short video because it is building up. And the Nattuvanas actually, they knew that. They knew exactly where to cut it, where to extend it. And that's why we are still going back to their compositions, right? And that's
That's
why whatever we do is not even 10% of what they have done because they were predominantly, they were not creative artists, they were creative scientists, I would say. They had understood Nada Yugam so well that they knew how much to give, how much to let go. So I think that's a so in the path in the journey, but I think this interdisciplinary way is the only way that we can reach out to our audiences and say that uh, this is uh, this is beyond bhakti in some sense, right? Again, bhakti is a measurement for us. We look at a saint here and saint there. We say, oh, this is a big Swamiji. This is, so on and so forth. The bhakti is not known up until, Udupi Sri Krishna actually turns around or, Shiva actually asks the Nandi to move. Those miracles, I'm waiting and I'm asking them. I'm saying, when are you going to show us those miracles again? They're happening around them. But that measurement is off. And I think that's the reason why we are struggling. Good struggle.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think because, this becomes very important because all of us now, generally looking at the fraternity of learners, whether it be male or female, we generally are indulged in a different kind of studies because all of us know the value of education now because we know formal education is very important, which everybody is there. So they do commerce, they do arts or science or some background they have before even they get full time into dance. So I think it would be very, very interesting. And as you rightly put forth the point, from the domains which we come from, whether it be art, architecture, or science or commerce, be it management, like or neuroscience, like what you are talking, and linking up certain aspects of Natyam. Now I'll change
Absolutely.
myself also. So linking the aspects of Natyam into like how these can be like linked, I think will give you a different a scope of work
Absolutely.
altogether for the whole world. I think, and especially codified art form like ours. Bharatanatyam and things like that. We have such a flavor which is being given in a small package in a very calculated form, as you rightly mentioned too. So I think that opens up to a different kind of a different discussion. I think we should have another session on that. But since this is about your personal life, I'll go to another
Sure.
different dimension of yours of being a performer and performed extensively abroad and in India and. Every different things, different kind of festivals and things like that. What's your preference as a performer? What do you prefer the audience to be, and who you prefer to be, and where you want to dance? I'll keep it very generic because you know the
Wow.
antarartham of what I'm asking.
This is a very tough question, Sagar. I don't think you've asked this to everyone else. I don't know if that is the case,
I
but
haven't asked anybody.
this is a very tough question. Firstly, I think we're all privileged to have an audience. I think the art community has this entire lockdown chaos has shown us, has made us miss audiences a lot. I personally miss them. Um, and what I miss about it, actually, I'll tell you, is that uh, so, Jayachandran, who I think you've also interviewed very recently, used to say that the word in Tamil that we use for our performances is kacheri. And he had said that kacheri is actually used in a legal context. So the performance is actually is a trial. And who is the judge, right? So even Bharata and the Natya Shastra actually gives you an entire list of what the right judge of and the right audience needs to be. And Parati Dattaji here in Aurangabad also has, talked about Sharangadeva also, and how beautifully he talks about, the audiences, and the different classifications of audiences. I think what happens is that you
Saptangas of
present.
Sabha.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just said Saptangas of Sabha.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the different classifications are phenomenal, and actually you can use those classifications today. I think that this is something for the YouTubers and the Instagrammers and the Facebookers also. Where does your audience come in terms of the kind of audience that you're getting, and what are you giving them in return also, right? But if you ask me, um, the presentation of my best, right? The presentation of my 100% honest kind of thing, presenting that on the stage, um, that's beyond words, and that's felt. There is an audience that's felt over there, and they also feel it. And I've had one or two performances where it's been an absolutely moving experience for me, and I have broken down, and the audience has also broken down, and there's been no applause. And for me, that is the height of Rasotpatti. And that I would say, so for me, it's not, it's very easy. A lot of people use this word, yeah, with, oh, I dance for myself, and, I want to have, experts only there. And, I want to have, now you want to have like, journalists also, you want to have influencers also, and everybody in the mix. The reason why you can see that, the Natya Mandirs or the Aranya Sevas back then was so small was because everybody was doing a type of dhyana actually together. Now, everyone is in a different level of meditation. So who you call to a particular concert was a very choicest decision. You could call it elitist, you can call it, that only the creme de la creme got to see it, whatever you want to do. They were called to a yajna. The yajna was the performance. All the people who were present there were the yogis, and everyone was vibing together in that particular mental state. And if you can't get that, we can't get that. That's the reason why we feel undone. We do a performance and we say, "Che, I should have done this, I should have done that, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that." The list goes on. So for me, Nataraja has to be present. He should never let go of me. He should never let go of anybody who's there in the audience. If he decides to get up and go behind one of the bhaktas that came to the performance, I'm perfectly fine with that. But that feeling now should be completely unethereal. We should not be able to know where you are. It's happened, I'm sure as dancers, you would have also felt it. You just blank out. You don't know what you've done. You just blank out. And only when sometimes if you're lucky and you see a video, you'll be like, "Acha, ye kiya tha?" Like, I had no idea that,
Yeah.
that this is what we've
But it
done.
happens at that moment, but we don't forget what we are doing, but we have done it completely, but we don't know how is it going to happen. We just forget it at that moment, right? Yeah, I've experienced it. Yes.
That's the addictive part. And that's the reason why it keeps us dancing. That's the reason why we keep saying, no, I don't need an audience. You need the audience. Because without a judge, what are you going to present as a kacheri? What are you going to make the case of? Right? So that would be my answer. Very convoluted answer, but
You cordoned off a lot of it. I expected a very, very different answer, but anyways. But how do you feel performing for a sabha, okay, where as you said, there are learned audience and at least people who have a little bit of inclination towards music, than on a performance where I can just say a temple where all type of bhaktas do come. It's a devotion both the ways. Anyways, we are doing a devotional act. So, what do you prefer? There is as a performer, do we need to change something, or is it the same, or should we concentrate or do something else there, or how is it in your sense to perform in a sabha where there are learned audience and in a general film festival ka inaugural dance, maybe like that? It's a general audience where all mixed type of people are there. It doesn't mean that in a film festival there are no learned audience. There might be Vaijan
absolutely.
Jamas Vaijayanti Amma sitting in front of you. So it's a all different kind of a story over there. I'm just telling you like in a broader sense. So how do we decide on, or how do you put it forward?
No, that's a very valid point. I think, you know what, whenever we have these shorter time durations, right, and it's getting ever shortened also. So say, you know, on a good day, you have 30 minutes, you know, that they say that, okay, chalo, perform for 30 minutes.
That is the standard now. The 30 is like the standard.
You're saying 30 is a standard, you wait, give it another. So funny thing, Sagar, I have to share with you, the last time I performed in the NCP in Mumbai, there was a beautiful piece that was coordinated on, you know, different multiple styles, you know, working together. And Shrimati Swapnakalpa Dasgupta, who's the director over there, had coupled me with a Mohiniyattam dancer. And both of us actually talked about, we did the Kadana Kutukalam Tilana, Balamurali Krishna sirs. But what we had done was we took the perspective of dancers and their cell phones. So it was it was basically talking about the selfie, okay? And this was much before the lockdown. Like we had no idea this was happening. We just did it. And it was quite funny because my wife actually played the audience. She would sit in front. And what she did was she played the person who was watching the performance on YouTube. And we had on one side me performing and one side the Mohiniyattam artist performing. And everything that you do, pause, forward, rewind, slow play, 2x, 3x, 1.5, 1. Stuff, we put it out there. And we were nervous as hell to perform it in front of them because we had Padma Shri Darshana Javeri there, we had Uma Dogra ji there, we had everybody, the who's who, Vaibhav Varekar sir there, everyone is sitting there. But the funny thing was that, and it's so sad for me to say that, is that's how we're viewing art right now, right? I can pause it at any point in time. I can view it at any point in time. I can rewind. I can zoom in, zoom out. Those situations have absolutely come true. So I think while we use time as a way to kind of figure out what items to perform, we also sometimes those people who've learned music also use music, and they say that I want to do these ragams, I want to do these talams, and so on and so forth. A very important characteristic is definitely the audience that's coming, in terms of what they get. But I think what we've done as artists is that we have dumbed down our audience a bit too much. So we have decided for them that, no, they will only understand Mushika Vahana, that's all I'm going to do. No, they will only understand Shiva Tandava, I have to pick up one leg and keep hopping until they understand that it's Shiva. I think we have done that mistake. So I take the onus on us to say that just like how the greatest of directors, right, are able to show that, listen, you can work with black and white and tell beautiful stories. It's up to us also to bring them up to that level. Not that we are at a very high level, but bring them along with us at least, right? So I think from that perspective, performances are fine. If you go with a learned audience, they're looking for intellectual stimulation. You're going to a Koval performance, you're looking at spiritual, appreciation, right? They were two completely different practices as far as I know. While the traditional families were performing back then were similar, their padati was totally different. And we have done a beautiful mix of everything. So I think it's very important. And the last point I want to say on padati is that our padati also has to adapt. I have been one of the first people to kind of say that there will be a digital margam very soon. What do you present on a digital platform versus not? A lot of people have figured that out already. They're doing, smaller padams, they're doing smaller abhinayams, they're not doing nritta as much, right? Or if they do nritta, the camera is very far away, not much is done. Digital margam is here. It is definitely going to be here to stay. But I think what it's done as a beautiful job, even Director Maniratnam was talking about it. He said that it's given a voice to many people who could not break down the barriers that exist in terms of opportunities. Beautiful, artists and have been given opportunities to perform online who otherwise were never given a chance, have never seen the day of life. Because why? They were not in Chennai, they were not in Bangalore, they were not in Mumbai, they were not wherever they were. I think that that's a phenomenal thing. You learn so much, honestly, from them. But I think that knowing your audience is very important, but not catering to them, not pandering to your audience is a very important thing. It's a very fine line.
It's a great thing. I think it's a very valid point which you put across. as to how we need to be very responsible about what are we going to project ourselves and our art as, because you cannot get to the level of theirs, but we need to elevate them to the level at least
Absolutely.
a little higher than what they think about is the meaning of dance. And that's a very beautiful perspective of looking at it. Now, now you quit a job which was there in the US, and you've been back for dancing. But that's what, as blessing in disguise, you've got a beautiful, understanding, better half who can also, like, help you in your field and your choice of working, which is the most important thing for any life to happen, because that's life.
Absolutely.
It's not about earning, but it's about living life, right? So I think we all understand that. So what is your future goal? Because why I'm asking this question in the context of, you both seeing the dancing duo, the celebrated legends, and being under them for long, long time and being influenced by them, I think you would have a greater vision than all of us here. So I just want to
Oh,
know,
I
like,
can't say
what is
that.
your vision? Because it's a very tough decision. If you would ask me, I wouldn't have quit job, to be very, very truthful and be direct on that. I would have taken some studio in US only and done some dancing, whatever it is, teaching, whatever it is, I would have done somehow managing, because how you are doing is also managing now. That
Absolutely.
management would have
100%.
happened there, but the commitment is what you actually looked at. That's what I is front of me, that the commitment and involvement, what you actually sorted for towards dance, was much, much greater than, because you were not, you couldn't do justice for the job, is what I think there. So that's why you quit and you wanted to take up dancing as your main option.
I,
So I just want to know your vision as to how do you want to go about in future, and now pandemic and post pandemic structure, all that.
no, for sure. It's a very good question because when I was leaving the US, the job was fine. The place was fantastic. I had an opportunity to work with Wesley, the president of the college, Wesleyan University, and set up scholarships for students coming from India and from Southeast Asia to pursue whatever they want to do. So I was very lucky to be involved and go there. And one of the main reasons why I realized actually I wanted to stay back also in the college after finishing my undergrad was also because I wanted to be close to Balu sir and the music that he was teaching. I'll be very honest with you. I loved it. So I thought that, let me stay back and let me do it. But I realized very soon, very often, uh, to understand something in its entirety, you have to go to the origin. You have to go to the grassroots. Staying in the periphery, will only get you, so far. Honestly, and that's what I feel, and that was the pull for the grassroots for me to come back, because I was also seeing. I mean, it's no joke to live as abroad. I know that many people in India think that it looks very fancy, it's very shiny. There are multiple sacrifices that happen. Equal sacrifices happen here also. I mean, everyone. I'm not denying anything on any side, but I had instances where my friends could not come back to India to be with parents who passed away, and they could not see them. I had instances where families were split apart, so on and so forth. But the biggest one, I'll tell you, the biggest reason why I came back was because your identity also changes once your location changes. Who you are, right? And that was one of the main reasons why I decided to come back, because I started noticing that I was drifting away from what my core beliefs were and who I was, and that's the reason why I came back. Now I'll fast forward, because what I came to Madras and saw in Chennai was definitely not the picture that I had when I arrived. Yeah, and the
Okay.
funny thing, since we're coming on August 15th, I have to tell you, August 15th was the day that I left from the US. So Independence Day ke
Okay.
saath, I like boarded the flight and I said, "Tata, bye bye. I'm not coming back. See you very soon." And and this is actually an earnest call to all the artists who are out there. Uh, we absolutely do not know what we have up until we are either far away from it or we lose it. And this is the case when it comes to any of our classical traditions or our pre-colonization days. Frankly, if you ask me, it is only when you leave do you realize who your mother is. what she meant to you. It's only when you leave that you realize, who do you stand for? Someone told me that what is culture and what is tradition. They said culture is what you're doing when no one is looking. That was very profound for me.
Very
Because
true.
that's what, if you're going to go there and go to temple and be there and take photos and show that, oh my god, I went to temple today, I'm so devout. No, that's not culture to me, frankly. Right? It is what you do when no one's looking. Right? That's where your reason, to who you are actually is. So but when I came back, I realized that full-time performing, the state that it is at in our country, the kind of importance that's given, I shouldn't say importance, the lack of it by our country. There's a lot of phenomenal work that's happening, but it's happening privately, right? There are
Yes.
private people who are actually
Yes.
supporting the arts
Yes.
and making sure that just recently, the kind of work that Abhay is doing through the president Roja Kannan ma'am in terms of supporting artists. One of the main reasons why I started working, Sagar, with Nadaswaram Vidwans was also this. So Nada Nrityolasam that you mentioned was it's a full 2 to 3 hour margam, that 2 hour margam that's presented fully with Taval and Nadaswaram Vidwans as well. They're completely involved. It's not a Mallari and then a Tillana, at the end. And the reason why I was doing that was because the kind of way that we have relegated them to the backside of the temple, the backside of the wedding hall, and for the kind of training that they actually do, you only will realize it only once you start talking to them, or you'll only realize it when they're not there. When you have functions, when you're playing it from a YouTube thing, and you're like, "Che, I wish that Kambodi was done a little differently." That's when they come and sit down. Because Sagar, a very beautiful thing I found out with Nasr with ones is what they play once, they cannot play again.
Yeah. I've noticed it. I really love it actually. I'm a great fan of that. But yeah, the
But
Sanktis,
that's
no, same Kritis, whatever I've learned. That's my personal experience because I have this inclination. I go sit next to them. Near to them in the wedding hall, and they play
me too,
all the
me too.
Kritis which I know. If they are known to me, I'll just tell them to play this or whichever new Kritis I learn and sit and listen to them. The Sanktis, oh my God. And you should see them, they're so simple and they don't have any awards, they don't have any rewards except the thing which is being paid by the girl's father in the marriage. But excellent artists are there around. And every city has this, not only like,
Absolutely.
Chennai or every small town, every big town,
Very simple.
there will be marriages and that culture is so, deep rooted. And yeah, sorry to
And
interrupt you, but
what we no, but what we don't know about them is, and that's the problem. So see, when someone says that I have done 10, this is my percentage marks. When someone says that I've done my undergrad, oh, you're science, oh, arts, oh, commerce, right? Now the kind of training that they went through, nobody knows. Even the kind of training that the pujari or someone who comes to your house to do pujas and all, that training you don't know. It's not talked about, right? So
correct.
they very often they say that, and you must have read this, that there will be Nalswaram families when they marry one into the other, they marry for the ragams and they marry for the kritis. That's the wealth that they take. They'll say that you're marrying into it. Even though they say, no, this is like Khandan ka, right? So they say that Yenga vittu sottu. Kalyani is my sottu. Todi is my sottu. Imagine that, right? But there's no qualification given to it because it's just thought, so yeah, it is just a ragam. No. So
The value.
that's why I really feel that like this is a very small example, but I think a lot of these things are absolutely taken for granted, and unless
Yes.
people our generation and younger than our generation actually and it's not about supporting the arts or whatever it is, it's about supporting livelihoods. And Sagar, that's one of the main reasons why I decided to have a profession also. It's not just have a double profession in terms of research as well. It's not just because I want a stable income, I want that kind of a plush lifestyle or whatever it is. Plush lifestyle would have been in US long time ago, right? So that's not the reason why. The reason why is because people need to actually bring back and support the arts. That's more important actually now than being an artist yourself. Being an artist yourself can come and go, but it's pretty sad to say this, but in many cities, if you look at it, people who are making malas, for example, are disappearing. people, Bhadyars in temples itself are having their kids do IT, right? So who's going to replace that? Who's going to replace that? And it's a choice that you're making, but it's also a choice that you're making by saying that no, my kid will go do this, that, and all that, will never come back to India also. It's a choice that you're making. So then, then don't celebrate the arts, because the arts it needs care and concern to grow. It's, only then. I mean, there are multiple questions that come. Why are that certain towns and cities in India are so well known for the arts, patronized for the arts? Even suburbs within cities also, you'll see. Yeah, like in Bangalore and all that, I think they talk about certain places in Chennai and also. Why was it that it was that? It was because the patrons were actually knew the care and concern for the arts. That's why the Music Academy was established. Let's not forget ourselves, right? It was a group of people who came together and said that this is very important and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is.
Correct.
So therefore we need to take that responsibility up. Wow.
It's a wonderful message which you gave. I think it's very important, and as you rightly said, also collaborating in a new different way, but going back to roots, because collaborations are happening in a different way towards westernized way of dancing. I think you brought out a very interesting thing about more Indianized collaboration, which will also uplift different community of artists. I think that's a wonderful
Absolutely.
thought, and I think you should do it more and more, so that I think we all can be like inspired more, and we will do it. We'll follow you very soon, because I think it's a much needed thing, because sometimes, because I have felt this last year when we offer something for and some of the artists actually rejected, saying that I don't want your money, who wants your money, or I can buy my rice, give me a program, I'll come and play, and then you give me something. There were so many people who rejected, somebody help. I don't want to live with any biksha. We call it as biksha. I mean, some alms
Yeah,
which
correct, correct.
I don't, because artists have that, self. Pride that I'm an artist. I don't have to beg anybody. So it was like, I found that in not all of them, but there were very few of them who didn't even accept. Even our government grants, they don't apply. They say, why I have to go and stand in front of somebody else's office? I will go and play and they will give me money. I will go and put a put makeup and do this. Many drama artists in Tumkur area, we have a lot of drama artists,
Yeah.
especially. So
Mm.
they say, one day, if I go to drama, I'll get so much of money. Why should I go and beg somebody? So they believe in themselves so much. And I think, as you
Absolutely.
rightly said,
100%.
it's more about giving opportunities for artists than giving them financial, directly giving 1 lakh, 2 lakh. Who wants the
Yeah.
money? That's the secondary
No,
thing
I
with the
think
artist. Right?
yeah, no, but I would agree and disagree with that. I think that the artists, that what is speaking there is their love for the art, right, and their
Yes.
belief in the art, right. They believe that, yeah, if I go hungry tonight because of my art, then it's my fault. It's not the art's fault. I have done something wrong, right, and therefore I have not eaten up. But I think those are, they are phenomenal artists who are coming from the traditional background. There's predominantly, if you look numbers wise, I'm pretty sure that there are non-traditional artists like myself. My family is not a traditional dance family at all. My grandmother used to sing, but apart from that, there's no dance there. So I have to be honest in saying here that money does play a role, but I think just one ask that I can give to everybody, a very interesting corollary I found in Kerala and in Manipur, right? Both states, if you look at it, the general population, the household supports the arts. For every birth, every death, every deceased person, every new wedding, everything, all of that is performed. There is a performance, there is an art associated with, there is a community that thrives from it.
I think
Those are
we
the
also
only
have
two
it,
states.
but it is disintegrated. That's it. Yeah.
No, 100%. You're totally right. Every state has it, and that's who we are. Yeah, at the end of the day, like we like to celebrate that. The problem has been that in terms of economizing on certain spends and spending it on other things, we've decided that that is not very important. And I think that's the ask that I would give to everybody. And I was kind of doing it for myself in our own wedding, for that matter, also, was that, give others, a chance to perform, give them multiple avenues to perform. If the temple, and Sagar, I also feel this, that the temples must open up to more performances, to daily performances and sevas for the Lord, for the deity.
Yes.
It was you can look at it religiously, you can look at it sociologically, anthropologically, cut it, dice it, whatever you want to do. That it was a governmental spend that every day this particular seva will be done. And the positives of it is not quantifiable. Again, if you look at my thing, you can't stand there and tell people, oh, did you now feel more divine because you saw a performance? You can't ask them that because they can't put their finger on it. But that has to come back. So if there are private people, if you have, for example, private temples or temples that your family is running, make sure there are regular performances happening there. Make sure that in your own life and in your students' lives, it's not just the Arangetam that matters. That you actually insist and say that, yeah, you're calling me for a wedding, great. Which Nasra Vidwan do you have? Have them play, no, for 1.5 2 hours. Not stop every time the Vaidya says, oh, no, stop, don't, don't play. Right? Those, and that's for folk artists and classical artists also. But I think we need to do that. It's very important because, like the UNESCO says, these are unquantifiable, undocumented heritages that we have, and we are missing it. We are missing it big time because there's no school for this.
Intangible heritage, you mean?
Intangible heritage. Sorry, that's the correct word. So the intangible heritage means it's not quantifiable. It can't be taught. So
Yes.
we need to support that, definitely.
Yes, I think I've taken 15 minutes extra of your valuable time, and thank you so much. It was a wonderful discussion. I think we should involve you for multiple such discussions in future for different, focused thing, because this was more to do about to give a glimpse of what you're doing to everybody, because that's my responsibility as a Sankatha interviewer. So, but it was a very touching conversation today, and a lot of things to take back. That was in a very short time. You've been educating all of us in different aspects, especially your life, which you took, the decision which you took to strongly come back to your roots, and then do what you actually imagined to. Because people talking is different, but getting your talk into action is some completely different. And I think I should thank you wholeheartedly. Whatever young, old, doesn't matter, because the decisions at different ages, age is just a number, is what I feel. So a great decision which you have taken to, like, come back and then be in India, and whatever work, small or big, which you are doing to dedicatedly towards art, I think should grow. And I think we wish you all success, and more success, which brings you satisfaction, because success for different people is in a different way, but which makes us satisfying is something very different. So we thank you wholeheartedly for accepting. And I
Thank you so
thank
much.
Vijay also for introducing you to
Yes.
me on this forum. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Otherwise,
He
we would
got me
have.
into this, and I have to say that Vijay has also been, we vibe a lot is the right way to say that. And he told me, and then I've Sagar, I've been seeing also the brilliant interviews that you've been taking. These are very tough times. There are many things that people cannot say, and as artists, as dancers particularly, we dance with our heart, right? We don't talk with our art. So getting that, getting these multiple perspectives, it's been eye-opening, because as a community, Nartakas particularly, if you look at, I don't like this male dancer because it's quantifying what the dancer is. As a Nartaka, you don't actually talk about your past, because you're, in many cases, as I said, mental sacrifice, physical sacrifice, family sacrifice is all there. But we are bringing the entire community together, and to you, and definitely to Rupashri madam also. Thank you all. Thank you so much for the service that you are doing. And please, in any small way that I can help, I'm very happy to help. And thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
everyone
much.
to watch also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaskar.